Hello, everybody. Welcome back once again. Thank you for joining me. My name is Jeremy, and this is the Crew First Culture Podcast. Today, I have a returning guest. Actually, was my very first guest, and looking forward to having her back on. I have Miss Brooke Ames on. How you doing, Brooke?
I'm good, Jeremy. How are you?
Very good. Looking
Good.
forward to a little conversation with you.
All
And
right.
I know you're dealing with some homeschooling and all the trials that are among us lately. How's everything going?
You know, lifestyle wise, aside from the homeschool thing, hasn't much changed here. I do miss travel. I will tell you that. I can't wait to get on a plane again. But we kind of out where we live, we socially distance by design. I mean, it's 20 minutes to the nearest grocery store around here. So, I mean, that none of that has changed. Not like we were like night owls or socialites where we were going out all the time. But our district switched to all virtual and they're still all virtual. So I'm kind of having like I usually would shoot something like this in my woman cave, which with my cool, Robert Duvall backgrounds, my red line backgrounds behind me. And I'm sitting up here like holed up in my bedroom because my woman cave has become my daughter's classroom currently. So it's a quiet place at least for me to sit and chat with you today. But as far as the nice thing about our jobs, and I know that there's some changes that are made as far as like PPE and everything, the cool thing is like we still get to go to work, if that makes sense. My husband's doing the thing
Yep.
where he's doing half at Cummins and then half doing work from home because they don't want as many people in the manufacturing facility as any more than necessary. So anything he can
Yep.
do from he's expected to do from home, but we get to essentially go out and be normal. Now I understand wearing N95s is not normal, but think about it. We get up, we still go to work, we still get to have our commute with our coffee and go and take calls like we not normally would. But that to me is kind of it's an okay thing. So
Yep.
glass half full,
Yeah. No,
anyways.
I'm glad you brought that up. And first of all, I'm very lucky to have made it through this most recent homeschooling adventure. Mine actually went back to school yesterday, so I've enjoyed a few quiet days at home for the first time in a long
Monday,
time.
Monday, Monday. Oh, Monday. It's
but
happening.
no, but exactly what you said, man. It this world is so it's like it's just dying to pass negativity onto you. It's just
Right.
wanting so badly to just soak negativity all over everybody. And I love that that's what you said, because that's what we need to focus on. Okay, I hate wearing masks as well. It's stupid. I hate it. But you know what? My son works at Arby's and he's had to wear a mask every minute since he has had that job. My wife is a nurse. She has to wear not only a mask, but a gown and a face shield every time she,
Yep.
is there. So I get it. It sucks, man. I'm not trying to downplay that at all. But yes, we do have a job. We have a awesome job, and we still get to do it. And there's so many good things about that. It has nothing to do with what we're here to talk about, but
I
I
know, but
appreciate. No,
it's
no,
it,
that's fine. It's
it's
absolutely fine. Go ahead.
it's a good intro in that, and I
Yep.
don't want that. I don't, or, a lot of our thing is we're talking about, some social media and the goods and bads of it, right? You mentioned the negativity. I got rid of my Facebook account just because like I couldn't, it's just,
Yeah.
it killed my day, man. I mean, you can find negativity anywhere, but it seemed like I was it wasn't no longer Facebook. I started because I moved out of my home state and with some family that don't live, real close by. And it's like it was a fun place where people shared recipes and pictures of their kids. And now all of a sudden it became just fraught with political ideology and masks, no masks, you're stupid, you're sheep, you're, a liberal, you're a Republican. It's just I was like, I can't do this anymore. It just ruins my day. It was not value added anymore. So I got rid of my Facebook account. Now I know people are like, well, you still have your Instagram account. Right. But I selectively follow
Yep.
accounts that are promoting positivity. Again,
Yeah,
I am not, I'm not a super bright and shiny person. Like, I'm sure there are plenty of people who are like, I'm certainly not the cheerleader who's like, oh yeah, I can't wait to, be here. Like, I'm not trying to put that out there. It's just, I can't have any, like, it's just, I don't want to open my news feed and see so much more of that. So it's like, I'll just focus on the good part of it, which everybody out there is like, oh my God, it sucks. It's not normal. It's not normal to go to work because we don't get to do this or we don't get to do that. Yeah, but you get to go to work.
yeah,
That's one positive. I try to remind myself of that. I'm not always awesome at it. I got some negativity in me, and it really has come out. I think this pandemic's been trying on everyone. It's been high stress on everyone, not just healthcare workers, not just people in emergency services. It's you look at people who have either lost their jobs or now are having to entirely restructure. Like, good news, you and I are never going to do our job from home. Like, we're going to actually
yeah.
go and work. But you have people that are like, I mean, my mom, she's not technologically advanced, and now she's having to be like an IT expert on everything. And it's like, I'm happy to be where I'm at. I should probably not take, I should always, not never take it for granted. But I think, being thankful for it's good. We just got over Thanksgiving. So I sent out, I'm glad you got my Thanksgiving card. I'm not a Christmas card person, but I think gratitude is important. So I hope you received your card and
That's very nice. Yes.
sent Thanksgiving cards to some folks. So that's my favorite holiday. So.
Yeah, that's much appreciated. And I will take this moment to kind of reboot because I am not a very good host. I'll just go ahead and throw that
Well,
out there. But I did not let you even kind of basically introduce yourself. But give me a second because it's just funny because we had this topic in mind, and we will get into that as soon as I let you introduce yourself. And then the opening kind of went a certain direction. It's like a different direction, but really it's all tied in. And I will get there as soon as we let you introduce yourself. So go ahead,
yeah,
Brooke. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. My
No,
name is,
you're
I am a career firefighter paramedic in the state of Wisconsin. I was a volunteer for about 5 years before that. And prior to that, when I was a volunteer, I worked a corporate job for a company called Cummins, and came from the corporate world, not really, late bloomer to the fire service. I lost 100 pounds in order to pass my CPAT. I'm not the person to come to for tactics. I'm here. I'm a rookie. I've been on 3 years now, but I'm definitely a rookie. I'm learning. Uh, I I have a message of basically being better than you were yesterday and not being the weakest link. My Instagram handle is Misfit Hose Dragger, which, if you're interested, it's going to be a lot of workout stuff, a lot of farm stuff, a lot of just kind of fitness and like being better than yesterday stuff. And few people got on board with it and joined what I call the 451 degrees Fahrenheit link tribe. And it's just symbolic kind of message of not being the weakest link, whether that's in your family, in your community, with your crews, with yourself. It was just a concept of being better than the day before. So I'm not an expert on anything. Just no danger, a little too much about some topics I certainly don't have enough letters after my name to be considered any sort of expert. This is like an opinion based thing, and it's only one person's opinion. But fairly busy metro department that I work for now. I commute about an hour to work, and I work full time there. So most time, and because I'm pretty new, I ride the ambulance a lot. But our ambulances also fight fires. All of our gear is put onto our ambulance. So it's an engine company and an ambulance running out of each house. And yeah, so I just got off work, so I look atrocious. Sorry, world. there's not a lot of gloss and pretty here, but I'm here having my coffee. Like I said, I just had breakfast. Been running ragged since I woke up. So
definitely
yep.
understand. I appreciate you having you on, spend
I'm
some
so
time with
glad,
me today. So
I'm so glad that I remember when we first began talking, maybe little over a year ago, maybe. I stumbled on your
that's
page and I
close.
thought it was pretty awesome. And you were just starting up the podcast. You asked me to be your first, I think first interview, right?
That
It's
was
pretty,
that was
pretty
like in
close.
March, I think. So it
Yeah.
wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was right after I had spoke at Fool's Conference.
Yep.
And
Yep.
uh, yeah, so I think it's been so awesome to watch your journey and watch how far you've come in just like a few short months. And I know that you kind of view social media or Instagram or whatever kind of same way I do, in that like I don't think either of us set out to gain followers. Like it was just like we started putting our stuff out there and it attracted, you know, the like-minded people.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like I see you and you're interviewing like these big names, and I'm like, oh boy, oh boy. So it's
Been
pretty
very
cool.
lucky. Well,
Congratulations. It's pretty cool.
thank you. So getting back to the conversation here,
Yeah.
and so I will start with this because it's a broad conversation, and we're going to let it go wherever it goes, just like always. But I think a good starting point is a quote that I found this morning, just kind of looking around, and basically we're going to be talking about perception. And this is the quote: "We must not allow other people's limited perceptions to define us." And that it was said by Virginia Satir, I guess. And so, kind of before we get into that, I want to tie this into what we had kind of opened up with about the whole, staying positive and finding a positive and all the negative, and what led me into tying that to this is you said something about, you're not always the I can't remember what word you said, but basically
Bright
you're
and
not always
shiny.
the sunshine in the room. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You know, if somebody doesn't, or okay, let me go a different angle. If somebody knows me, like that works with me
Mhm.
and knows me personally and sees me putting, trying to put positive posts out, trying to put inspirational stuff out, listening to some of the things I'm saying on the podcast about staying positive and focusing, all that. If somebody listening to all that knows me personally, they could say, "Hey, man, I know you. I saw you the other day and you were a grouch at the station and you weren't being positive at all. You looked like you were beat down." That's perception. And that's exactly what kind of what we're going to get into. Okay, yeah, I am not a perfect person. I am not a positive person every minute of the day. I want to be somebody who tries my best to stay positive. If something hits me negatively, I want to deal with it as fast as I can. I want to get back into that positive atmosphere. And so we'll just kind of throw it out there like that. And you obviously feel the same way because you've already mentioned it. But do you feel like being somebody like us, we're neither one of us are going to be claiming to be huge, obviously, like you said, we're not for fame. We're looking for people that are interested in the stuff we're interested in. It doesn't do us any good to have 50,000 people following us that don't care what we're doing.
Right.
So do you kind of feel the same way or same pressure or however you want to describe it?
You know, so I had another firefighter. She's pretty awesome. Her name's Val Solano. She's with Aurora Fire
Yeah.
Department. We had a really long conversation about this, about social media and perception and, what it means to be a woman in the fire service and our perceptions of that too. The thing is, she mentioned something that I'd never really thought of is like we all kind of end up with this imposter syndrome, right? Just because of what we put out there and is like how we're actually thinking, feeling, how we're operating, and maybe then somebody else's perception, they see you as an imposter, right? But I'm
Yeah.
I know that I'm not always bright and shiny. I get it. I could work on my attitude, that's for sure. I think all of us, if we're being, humble and vulnerable about like our own internal struggles, like nobody's spot on every day. The stuff that goes onto my social media account, it started literally like when I was 100 pounds heavier. I mean, I wasn't posting stuff then about like my weight or anything, but like I've had my Instagram account since then. It hasn't been, like something that developed in order to like build a brand. It became that, but that wasn't where it started. Um,
Yeah.
People started once I had passed my CPAT and I was doing these things, powerlifting competitions, and now I'm getting into some bodybuilding. People were kind of intrigued, one, I think, because of this whole like concept of like, I had to like chameleon from a Fortune 200 job to now I'm in an industry that's very much different. And not only did I have to like physically change, I physically had to change, I had to meet new standards. And I think people started following for that reason, and maybe for some inspiration, because look, I am a Midwest housewife, essentially, the working class housewife, that I have kids, I have all the same like pressures and obligations. I run errands this morning just like everybody else. And it's, if I can find the time to get my workout in or make that a priority, that was what I was trying to put out there. Like, there's always a way to do it. It's not always easy. I don't want anybody to think that like I can't wait to like get there and get it done. It's like some days it's a drag, but I know it's got to happen. And I hope that if that's what I'm putting out there, other people might follow that example of, yeah, this is a priority. I can make this priority regardless of the other things going on in my life, kids, husband, home stuff, work. It's all there. It exists for me. And I just wanted that to be a beacon maybe for other people who were struggling or finding, either with their weight or with their jobs or just not in a good place. And for the most part, the feedback has been positive. Hey, I really, I'm inspired by this. Thanks for putting out your stuff. We appreciate it, and that's great. That stuff is gold. It's wonderful. It's
Yeah.
good to hear. It gives that positive affirmation. And, I had started writing at one point, and, I like that to be organic. So I don't like sit
Yeah.
down and like put a deadline on it. So it's like, if I'm feeling, like I want to write, I sit down and I write. And what you're mentioning, literally one of the chapters of my book is getting people on board, ... or not. So you have to kind of like, you have your vision, right, Jeremy? You have this vision
Yeah.
of what you want things to look like. And you're going to do what you can to create buy-in, right? That's
Yeah.
a given. But what is your contingency plan? Like, this is the chapter of my book. If you don't have that buy-in from if your spouse is like, well, I need you to do this, this, and this, or kids need this or that. It's like, okay, so what's your backup plan? What's plan B when that stuff kind of like, comes up, or somebody's telling you, well, I see that you're not always, super on par with getting some training done, but yet that's what you're posting about. No, but
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to be more like. It's everything that's happening on my Instagram is what's happening. It's what's happening for you. It's a snapshot into your day.
Exactly.
Which for me, I leave work for the most part entirely off of it. I know what I do for a living. That's fine. We all, put water on the fire. It goes out the same way. I mean, I know I'm being facetious. Calm down. I know there's engine trunk guys. They're just, their heads are exploding, and I mostly ride an ambulance and have to do mop up anyways, but that's neither here nor there. But as far as that's concerned, it's like the snapshot that's into my life is generally in the gym, or generally, I mean, half time anymore it's here on the farm, because that's where I'm at all the time. But if I'm not at work or at the gym, it's here, or out hunting. That's kind of been something that's been going on around here. So people have just been getting that snapshot. I don't post every day. Probably maybe do. I don't know. It's not like that's the other thing. It's not like I'm like, oh, I gotta get something done today. I gotta get post to Instagram. Like that doesn't happen. I'm glad that there is content in my life that I think is shareable. Whether people want to follow me or not, I don't really. I mean, I'm glad I have followers. It's awesome. The positive feedback is phenomenal. But at the same time, there's been times where I haven't posted for a week because I had stuff I had to do. And it wasn't, glamorous. I was still working. I was still working out, but it was like, to put the phone down and take a picture of it is like, I know what I'm doing. I know that I got to get this done. I'm sorry, it's secondary right now that, it gets out there. But I know that for you, you do make that a priority. And whether people perceive that as, well, this isn't how Jeremy really runs his ship, or this is how Jeremy runs his ship. Either people, what are you going to do if that is the case? What are you going to do if people do think that about you?
Yeah.
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 You
And
know what you're doing. You know who you are.
yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of exactly kind of my mindset of where I wanted this conversation to go. And I think before we go any further, it's safe to say, well, I won't speak for you, but I feel like it's pretty safe to say that you kind of agree with this, but something was brought up many episodes ago with Chief John Sahatchin, and he brought up I don't know if it's a quote or just a statement, but uh, lions don't lose sleep over the opinions of sheep. And I think that, that definitely has a place that we need to kind of bring that up right now, because we are talking about perception, and we're going to go further into that and all the ups and downs with that. But really, when it comes down to it, if I know I'm doing right, if I know I'm doing the right things for the right reasons and in the right ways, like he says, also, I don't care if you have a problem with what I'm doing. I don't care if you know, I don't care, because I'm doing it for what I feel is right. And so I feel like I need to get that out kind of first before it throws any new perceptions, air quotes, of people listening right now of thinking, oh, well, they're going to change because people are this or that. No, that's not what we're talking about at all. We're just
It,
talking about kind of the preemptive stuff that we have to deal with. Kind of, go ahead.
well, and perception versus reality are two very different things, right? Um, what your reality is of what you're putting out, when we break it down, is you're giving a snapshot to a beautifully, just by the way, fantastic photography, beautifully displayed photograph of a moment in time that you shared with your crew, and putting out there, maybe an idea for another crew somewhere else that's training. I have never gotten the perception, this is again one person's opinion, I have never gotten the perception that, oh, you know this is what I should be doing, or I'm not, I don't put my crew first, right? Like crew first culture. Like it's been like, hey, I want to share this with you because I'm passionate about this and I enjoy it. And that's what all of my gym stuff had been, and still continues to be. I hope people, I'll share a quote with you, and I'd shared it actually in the chat of when you were interviewed recently by the Fire Inside page. And
Yep.
I kind of got some flack for it because they're like, that's way too deep. And I'm like, oh, just calm down. It's not, definitely not too deep. But it's, go back to your garden plot, go back till the evening falls, and tie the lilies and train your vines till the master calls. Go make your garden as fair as you can. You will never work alone. Perhaps he whose plot is next to yours will see it and mend his own. So
Yep.
I'm not out there saying you should do this, you should do that. I mean, I do want people to be better than they were yesterday, but I'm not laying down that this is how you do that. How people have become better is their own personal definition, right? Be it fitness, or be it with being a better parent or a community leader. Like, being better, everyone has their own perception of what good, better, best is, and that's not for me or anyone to judge or determine. So while I put that out there of being better than yesterday, I am in by no means saying that what I'm doing is going to make you personally better. This is just,
Yep.
I want to show you what makes me better. I want you to be inspired, and then, you take that, you mold it to whatever you're going to do, and go out and, touch somebody else with it too. So
Yeah,
I
and
think,
that's something that's interesting. That kind of point, and I've kind of mentioned this before with basically writing. You can have some of the biggest leadership names around. The Maxwells and Lencioni's and all that, and they could be saying basically kind of the same thing, and they reach 97% of the people and speak to 97% of the people. But that other 3%, they don't really, it doesn't really click. But when maybe you put out a post that is kind of in the same general area, you say it in your own ways, well, that post might click with those other 3%. So you're reaching people that these gigantic names, excuse me, can't even reach. And I think that's really cool, because you do a different thing than I do. I don't put much fitness stuff out there because it's not my wheelhouse. You don't do a lot of the stuff I do because it's not your big. But that's the deal, is I find different people that my message clicks with than you do. But
mhm.
then again, there's some crossover there, and sometimes you'll have something that will reach some people that, aren't normally touched by it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's kind of a scrambled thought there, but it's very interesting how different people reach and speak differently to others, and it can just, it's just cool. And that is really why we're here, because we are trying to reach maybe some people that haven't been reached before.
Right. And I think, the audience, regardless of, your content or my content, the audience that it's affecting are probably the people that need it the most, or, like they're following for a reason. They're attracted to this concept. And, I just hope that if you're somebody like for my page, and I don't want to make this about me, because this is uh, even when I, started posting regularly to my Instagram account, I'm like, this isn't, I don't want it to be something that validates me. It does feel good when people, are like encouraging, and that's awesome. That exists too. There's no altruistic action ever in life. And, this is no different. But the fact that it will inspire someone, or potentially inspire someone to hang on just a second.
You're fine.
11:15. Okay. Sorry, homeschool issue. Next 11:15. Got it. I gotta you gotta get me off at 11:15 so I can make sure she gets there. So I forget where I was going. See, this is mom brain here. Anyway, so yes, so I started off with this dream of becoming a firefighter, right? And don't look the part, 100 pounds heavier, industry, didn't grow up in it. Most people, is like they knew they wanted to be a firefighter from day one. It had never even occurred to me or been offered to me that this was an option. I hope that, but then finding this niche, this thing that I like, this thing that I love, and I'm passionate about, through fit, becoming more fit and being fit for duty and things like that, it made it so that I wanted other people to have that same spark or that same passion, right?
Yeah.
So like you said, the things that I'm putting out, I mean, I know that our things are different. I get that. You're putting out nuts and bolts training, which is awesome. I love looking at those pictures and being like, that'd be a really cool drill, or anything like that maybe my crew will do that, or something. I don't get a lot of say because I'm, the low person on the totem pole, but that to me is inspiring. It's like, oh, this would be great if we went out and did this today. Where I hope that some of the people that, do crossover, they're like, oh, okay, maybe I don't need to go totally swole at the gym today for an hour and a half, but if I'm taking 20 minutes for myself to walk on the treadmill or get some, like if that's more than you did yesterday, then that's exactly what my message is. Like, better than yesterday. That's it.
Yeah, and that's, just to kind of, just kind of stammering here, because it's just so, I just bring up a situation with me, and I'll just leave it generically because it has happened several times. But I'll have one of my firefighters travel to a different station,
Yep.
and when they come back, they're like, man, it's like everybody is asking me, what's going on over there at, I'm at Red 3, Red Shift Station 3. What's going on at Red 3? It seems like you guys are always doing something. What's going on with Sanders? He seems different, things like that. And it's just funny to me because I look at us, and we literally do something. You know, some days we don't do anything. Some days, it just doesn't work out. But I'm gonna at least try to do something myself. I want that to be our culture, so I have to do something. If I'm trying to push it, I better find something to do, even if it's by myself. But on the days that we do something, it might be 2 hours at the max, 1 hour, 45 minutes. But these stations, these other crews are like, man, you guys are doing something all the time. Well, no, we're not doing something all the time. We're trying to, like you say, what you're saying is the premise of what I want to lead by, is getting better every day. Just if it's just a little bit, it's better than nothing. And so that's the point, is just something. And it's just funny how people take that, or whatever, if they're listening to what I'm saying, or if they're seeing what I'm putting out, they take that and just think that that's all we do is train. And so that, yeah, that's another piece of it is, I'm not pretending to be that way. I don't want to be that way. I don't want to try to push my crew through 8 hours of training every day. I don't want that to be the case. I want to get some good out of the day. And then like the flag that I fly over, I want to take care of my crew and show them I appreciate it and give them a break. And so, do you see kind of the same thing in the fitness world? Anything kind of similar to that story?
Um, I am kind of like not blessed in this aspect, but there's largely, and I have critics, believe me, that's fine, whatever. That just means you're doing something right. Like you're never
Yeah.
gonna please you and I gave you kind of an off color comment about that one time about how you're not gonna please everybody, so you might as well do, you know, whatever. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So if it's what you're doing and it's what makes you whole, like, so knowing going into it, knowing you're not going to please everyone. Okay, so if we know that there's going to be critics regardless of what I do, I'm going to do what feels completing to me. And for me, that's to get and work out and improve for me, really, like kind of a selfish thing, right? At the same time, that's my healthy coping mechanism right now. Like that's what I use. So the nice thing is that, okay, it might seem like I'm always in the gym. The good news about that is that I am every day in the gym or working out somehow. If I can't make it to the gym, it's going to be I'm going for a 3 mile run, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that. So it's I don't know. I'm also kind of insulated in that I don't have a ton of critics in what I'm doing as far as workouts,
Yeah.
because I work out at a gym where there's really nobody else there when I go. The nice thing is I do have a trainer. He's fantastic. I go work out with him once, twice a month, and I get some constructive feedback, but I never get this like, oh, well, all you do is work out. I guess, ouch, I don't know, like is that supposed to be like, I guess if somebody's telling you, wow, Jeremy, you really look like you're that's all you do is train. I mean, okay, that's not like there's more to me. Like
Yeah.
I could really just sit here and watch Married with Children for the next 2 hours while my kid's on Zoom, because that's probably what's going to happen. I'm going to go to the gym once my husband gets back home from work, and then I can go to the gym. Like, but I'm not going to post that to my social media because nobody cares.
Yeah.
um so you know what I mean. So like while those critics exist, of course, like I guess it goes back to the lions sheep thing. I
Yeah.
mean, I I just, okay, people are gonna criticize no matter what you do. You might as well
Yeah.
do what makes you happy, because you're gonna have critics either way.
Yeah. And kind of on that line, maybe a little off, but here, I've got another quote here that's going to lead somewhere else. But this one says, "What you give to others also devours what you should be giving to those who depend on you." And that's from Rain Hall. And so, first of all, that's huge in my family life. That speaks to me mainly with the family level of my time, valuing my family time above social media and everything else. I've had to really figure out how to make this thing work to where it's not taking away
Mhm.
from that family time. But at the same time, I think we can also play it right into what we're talking about too, because it deals with those people you just talked about. Why are we wasting our time and energy on these people that don't really want to hear our message? We need to be focusing on the people that need to hear it.
Right.
And so like I talked about earlier, I don't care if I would rather have 3,000 followers of people that want to hear what I have to say, and that share a passion, and we help each other and build each other up, as opposed to 50,000 people that are just scrolling through pictures. That doesn't do me any good of why I'm here. And so do you do you kind of have anything else to say about that? Do you feel the same way?
Oh, I completely agree with you there. my message is one that I want to be received by people who want to receive it. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to go out there convert anyone. I think fitness has changed my life, and I want to like kind of like spread that light because of how much it's changed things for me and how vastly improved my life became in a lot of aspects, not just like in a health aspect, like just a physical health aspect, but in a lot of like emotional and social issues too. And I think that's something I want to share. But I could care less whether I have 30 people following me who are just like, yeah, you know, I need this is what I want to hear. As opposed to people that are scrolling through pictures. Now, the caveat to that is I understand that I'm in a precarious, not precarious, but people are going to follow me for the wrong reasons. That happens, whatever. You know what? Okay. I can't there's not a lot I can do about that, but at the same time, the vast majority of the people who do are deeply wanting somebody to just say yes, there is a way to do this. There you absolutely can if you get the right mindset. It's not cheerleading. That's never what I wanted to put out there. It's like, hey, making choices is making changes is hard, but you have the ability to do it and commit to it. And
Yeah.
if I can do it, literally, if I can do it, anybody can. I mean, I am not any kind of expert. This isn't what I do. The whole like I never considered myself an influencer by any far cry until somebody called me that, and I was just like, I don't even know if I like that connotation. Like I was flattered, but I was also like, am I? I don't know. Like I'm kind of like just me.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't always get it right either, but I've always wanted my message to be one of inclusion and positivity and empowerment for everyone out there, whether it's in the fire service, whether you're working a Fortune 500 job, whether you are a pastor in your community or a volunteer or whatever. I want that's what I wanted. That's always been my intent. And sometimes, just as you said, Jeremy, those people are the ones that need to hear it, and that's who we want to reach. And we kind of have to not worry so much about those who might be maybe actively interpreting our message differently. I don't want to say vendettas, I don't want to say jealousy, because that all has those negative connotations and a
Yeah.
lot of ego associated with it, and I don't want to travel that path. But sometimes people are going to look for something regardless if it's there or not.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of the tools that I have kind of purposefully tried to use to avoid some of these type situations is showing some downfalls of myself. If it's to show that, I did this training scenario and I screwed it up, and here's a video of it showing you that anybody can do it, even somebody that should be really good at it. Or if it's me talking about some struggles that I've had, leading at work or leading at home, or I have, like you said, I have this vision and the culture that I want to create, but just having it doesn't mean that it's there. Just talking about it on a podcast doesn't mean that it is a living thing and it's active. Just showing pictures of us training does not mean that I have a crew of 100% fired up people. It doesn't mean that. What it does mean is that that is my vision, and I am going to try my best to get there. And I want so badly to have a group of people with me that agree with that, and that we are aiming at the same target, and all that. And so I think that's definitely helped me to kind of maintain a level keel on all this stuff, is to show some negative, to talk about some negative about myself, and it not that it's negative. I guess a better way of explaining it is just showing some imperfections maybe of myself, my training, my leadership, things like that. I feel like that has helped to negate some of this perception issue, because I try to be as honest as I can about everything, and like we started out with, I want to be positive. I want to see the positive in everything, but that doesn't necessarily mean that 24 hours a day that's where I live. And so, it's kind of part of the big picture.
I mean, wow, because I'm taking what I'm really trying to process what you're telling me and not answer preemptively in it, because wow, that's awesome. And it's humbling, and it's making me kind of like examine the fact that like I never post like a failed PR attempt, because you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
but oh my gosh, there are at least
lots.
30, 40 of them that happen up
uh,
to, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
maybe like, yeah, gosh, I sure hope that that's not people's perception, that I get it right every time, because Lord knows I don't. Bottom line there. That's, if there's anybody out there that thinks that I've got it all together, holy crap, this is a shit show most days. Most days I'm just holding it together on caffeine and like bubble gum. That's it. So wow, yeah, I never thought about that as like maybe even being more inspiring to see you know, the, I don't want to, my stuff is organic, but it's usually the highlight reel, right? Like
yeah, yeah.
that's everybody's Instagram account. Like you're not posting your day to day. Well, some people are. I don't know. I don't follow them, but it's not like, you know, you're posting the C+ days that you have.
Yeah,
It's like when you did good that day. It's your bright and shiny moment for the day. I started, you know, I went from powerlifting, which is constant PRs, right, to now doing bodybuilding, and it's humbled me, man. It has humbled me in my diet and my commitment, and wow, like it's a whole different animal, and it's just it's humbling me, and it's a struggle. It's every day, whether I want to or not. There's a lot of cardio involved. There's a lot of like, which I'm not crazy about, and there's a lot of like repetitive, you know, I went from being a power lifter where it's like, okay, I'm going to do my set of 3 here and that's all you're going to get, working up to you know, a top max lift. And now, as with this different kind of training, it's like the stuff that I would be like, oh yeah, I'll use that as my warm up. Well, warm up would be, you know, 3 or 4 reps until I went and hit my big number for the day, and then I was done.
yeah,
Now it's just humbling to like, oh, 225 deadlifting, like that used to just be like, okay, that's what I'm warm up with. And now that's like my, you know, I got to do 10 or 15 reps of it for several sets, and I'm just gassed. And it's not pretty. It's not, I don't know. Yeah, I've
yeah.
never I what you said, that's really, that's impactful. I think that's great.
So I'll give you a little, and I think this is the first time, and so just a little story on kind of where that came from. Uh, the first time I posted something along those lines, I was uh, we were training out of district, and a structure fire came in, literally probably 6 blocks away. I mean, it's crazy, out of our
Yeah.
district. We were already in air packs. I mean, it was literally, you couldn't hand us an easier assignment to beat somebody in on their fire. I mean, it blows my mind to this day how well it was set up. But we had ladders off, so we had to put those up. But that was it. And so scrambling around, getting ready, I'm in the right seat, telling I'm responsible for navigation. So in this area where the house is, there's train tracks, and it gets a little dicey if you're not paying really close attention, especially since I'm not from that district. I send us in the wrong freaking direction. And by the time we have no option but to back in, basically 3-point turn this stupid thing. And so, of course, by the time we get back on track, we're beat in. In the big picture, we would have been beat in anyway. It's not our fire, but that's not. We should have been there. And so, some other stuff went on, and it was a bad day for me. I was freaking ticked off at myself. I was so mad, and my crew knew I was mad, and they were trying to talk me through it, and step me down from the ledge and all that. And I just it took me a good day and a half to get over this. And really what it took me is to realize, and I guess go back a little bit. Part of my frustration is this whole deal that we're talking about. I'm sitting here trying to preach the message to be a good officer and all this, and I freaking screw up a chance to do something good and something we love to do. So anyway, I decided, okay, I think what it's going to take for me to truly just let this go and to be free of it is to put it out there and post it. Not that I love doing stuff like that, but I feel like that's what I need to do to release myself. So I put it out there and I explained kind of what happened and used it as a way to free myself of that guilt that, I'm not trying to be somebody perfect. And but also I know there are a lot of other people out there that are either going through that same type of thing right now or have been recently. And so why wouldn't I want to use that bad experience on my part to maybe help somebody else? And so that's kind of a mindset that I've had for a while is I have lived through a lot of stuff. My life has been rocky. And so I can either sit on all that and do nothing with it, or I can use it to help anybody I can. And so that's kind of my mindset. And I've done a few here and there of kind of that same type thing when I've messed up. And it's not to show myself in a negative light or show that I have no self-esteem. It's a tool that I feel like isn't out there much. I just don't feel like there's a lot of that. People being real about the mess ups and all that. And so that's kind of the mindset behind it.
And as the which is awesome. You're human. We're all human. We need to, especially now, we all need to grant each other a little grace. Like I need to be just as I need to practice what I preach too. Like there's not always, I might be quick to judge or quick to snap at somebody. Um, Everybody's under a little bit of extra global stress right now. So I think having the grace with other people and with yourself is important right now, and finding the healthy coping mechanisms that do make you feel whole. For me, it's the gym, and it so happens that I post about it. For you, it's being a good officer, and it so happens that you post about it. It's not everything that we do. It's a big part of us. It's who we, when we introflect and look inside, who we see or who we want to see, to manifest. But granting that grace of like, people might be quick to judge. You never know what's going on in their own world. Again, I'm not trying to travel the egoic thing of like jealousy or anything like that, but maybe it's causing other people to like look inside of themselves and say, have to get real about their tactics, right? Or their commitment. For me, like, hell, I know I'm not perfect. I am a pretty new firefighter. Like I screw up on the reg. Like, I mean, that's like, take what you can, learn something from it is kind of like what I've had to be like, you know what, I might not get this right today, but I'm gonna give it what I can here. um and hopefully I take away something in the mistakes, because that's really all experience is, right? Like you have to screw it up 10 times before
Oh yeah.
before you're like, hey, I'm cool with this. um so I think putting that out there, that that you are human, that you do make those mistakes even as an officer. Like, okay, so you're an officer, it doesn't mean you're not above reproach. Like those, nobody's infallible. Like we're all gonna screw up, me
And the
more than
people that
you.
show that they are or try to pretend they are, those are the people you need to really be careful of. I'll say that.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm glad that that's something that you put out there and share too, because I think me as a firefighter, seeing that, hey, an officer whom I respect might have a bad day too. Can't hold
Yeah.
that against them. Can't make that that's not what defines you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
I don't mean that sounded a little too
No.
fluffy, but it really isn't. Your mistakes aren't what
Yeah.
define you, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I'm still,
Yeah. And
we're all
go
still
ahead.
learning.
Yeah.
We're all
I
still
think
learning.
a cool visual, and I obviously can't pass on the visual here through a podcast, but I've seen several times kind of in different varying ways here lately is two pictures, kind of cartoons. One of them, you got a guy building a wall with bricks and all the bricks say fail on it. And then the picture next to it is a guy building stairs and all the bricks, of the stairs say fail. And it's basically, a simple way of saying you can build walls and just totally use those failures to beat you down and keep you in a place that you don't want to be, or you can use those failures to just continue to build and build and build on. So it's
I
kind
like that.
of an I would, you know,
I like that. If you find that, if you is that a Paul Combs cartoon by chance?
no, no, it's just a basic, almost stick
Okay.
figure cartoons, way beyond his or way underneath him. But yeah, I'll find it and send it to you, or find something close to it.
Yeah, that's
So
good in that.
go ahead. You got anything else with that?
I don't. I appreciate you having me. I did get my little one onto her next Zoom, and again Monday she goes back to in person learning, which thank goodness we need. Again, we live way out in the middle of nowhere. Need some kid interaction for her. So I know everybody, the entire world is, or entire United States is kind of struggling with that, and we're, we are not exempt. That's for sure.
Well, that's exactly kind of what I've got one more quote, and we can kind of tie the front end of this with the back end, and go from there, because I think it's something that I want to really end with. And so the quote is, life is about perception. Positive or negative, whichever you choose will affect and more than likely reflect on your outcomes. And that's from Sonia to Clyde. And I say that to kind of tie in what we started with, is just trying to find the positive. Perception, we focused on mainly of the angle of perception of us, as people trying to do good, trying to share a message, all that. Well, here, and to end, I want to turn that around and focus on our perception of the world, of life, of everything going on, because like we talked about right off the bat, man, it's so easy to see negative. It's so easy to be frustrated. It's so easy to be just irritated with anything nowadays. It's there, and it's so easy, but it doesn't do us any good. And we have got to find ways to find those positive things, because like you started off with, we still have a great job. We still get to go to that great job, and all that. And so that's kind of where I wanted to end off with, and whatever you have to say with that, love to hear.
I think it's an important thing to, again, the gratitude, and your perception of the world, trying to be like, grateful. Start the day with gratitude is what I've been trying to do. um I received a Keurig for my birthday, and I put it on my nightstand, and I only get one out of every 3 mornings where I get to wake up at home and like stay at home. Otherwise it's
Yeah.
wake up, either I'm at work or I'm going to work. But man, on those days when I can wake up and hit the button on the Keurig and just kind of lay there, it's like to I try to put my mindset into that. What am I grateful for today? I know, I get it. I know this sounds fluffy. I understand. Everybody out
No.
there is just like literally cringing at the fact that I'm trying to get you to start your day by being something thankful for. But it really does, and I should do it every day, but it's just I don't.
Yeah.
You wake up and you're ready to go to work, right? And that's like the last, like you're just like, I have stuff to do. Um, but it really is a practice that I should be doing more regularly than just one out every 3 days. It really will frame when that's the first thing on your mind, and
Yeah.
you're kind of like setting that in the background. Really does frame up some things. It's not gonna. This will not solve your problems. This is not life coaching with Brooke Ames. This is literally like just something I found that
Yeah.
one out of every 3 days is a real positive for me to reflect on. I have things to be grateful for. I'm waking up in a warm house. I have a steady income. My family is healthy. I get it. I get that it's fluffy, but again, the gratitude thing goes a long way. Um, and I'm trying to change my attitude to be more positive than the negative of like you're saying this is the water that's getting into the boat, right? The waters out there is super negative. This has nothing to do with our social media perception or anything. I mean, just
Yeah.
everything that's going on in the world right now, it's starting to leak in, and I'm trying to do the best I can to bail that out with gratitude.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. If you are trying to focus on gratitude and thankfulness, things that you are happy for, thankful for, all that, it's a lot harder to feel those negative things or be affected by those things if that's where your mind is. So yeah, it's a great point.
And
Another great point is you said that this isn't the answer. Well, none of this stuff is the answer. Neither one of us have the answer. We're just trying to share what works for us, share a little bit of kind of what's going on in our minds, and hopefully make it a little bit easier, a little bit better on somebody. That's I mean, if somebody's tuning into my show expecting answers on how to do things or get things right or be positive, or if they're looking for solve or instant solution answers, man, they're in the wrong place, I guarantee you.
yeah, like I said, I sit and I have my single cup of coffee here, and you live on a farm too, so the peacefulness of farm
Oh yeah,
morning. You
absolutely.
know what I'm saying? So the window that it's like directly faces the east. So the sun will just be coming up over the barn. I sit here with my coffee. I think about just a few things to be grateful for. Again, this isn't groundbreaking stuff. This is just,
Yep. Yep.
I know it sounds fluffy, but I've let the negativity in with like just the external environment. This has, again, nothing to do with social media. It's more just like the turmoil, this it's not social media turmoil, it's social turmoil or just global turmoil of things that are going on. And it's like, man, that morning that I get to sit here with my cup of coffee in bed and watch the sun come up and think about, the other good stuff. I'm starting to value that a lot. So,
Yep.
and
And that's the thing right there. That is something that works for you. That is something that you have found that helps you. So for me, that might not help me, but maybe I find something that helps me. Or it that's the thing. You just got to find what works for you. You got to find what helps you through, you know, turning surviving into thriving. That's kind of
right,
something that my
right,
wife and I have talked about a little bit here lately, and that is where we have felt like we've been living too. And I think that's kind of how you described it. Your homeschooling and all that is just basically surviving. And man, that sucks. It's a crappy way to live. But sometimes that's just how we have to live for a little bit. But we've
my
got to try to find that crossover.
man, you hit the nail on the head with the surviving versus thriving. And my one follow up to that is going to be this. And this is something where I'm not an expert on this, but finding those healthy coping mechanisms. Um,
Yep.
so this goes back to the perception thing where it looks like I'm always in the gym and I'm always just crushing it and killing it. Man, that's just me just dealing with some demons and shit that I don't
Yep.
have any other more productive way or a more mature way to deal with it. If I drank, I'd probably be an alcoholic. Like like that is the thing, that it is that release for me. So while it might seem like, oh, this is because it's making me so much better, there's also a very like therapeutic element to it for me, and I implore people to grab those healthy coping mechanisms. And another healthy coping mechanism, just like you said, can be the fact that you're trying to empower and influence other people to do the good things too. That's a healthy coping mechanism as well. And I think that regardless if you're going to get the perception of good, better, and different, that your intent out there is to help people and empower them. And that's I think all any of us can really hope for.
Yep. Absolutely. What you're explaining, working out, that's kind of what I get from training as well. And it all ties up, everything we're talking about. And that's the thing is, if I go through a day and don't feel like I've learned anything, don't feel like I did anything, don't feel like I did any good, it's like a weight on me. And so just getting out and going and forcing some doors for a while, just something, it is that release. It is that, just feeling okay. I feel like I did something today. I got some stress off. I got that weight off of my shoulders, and I feel better. And so, yeah, it's just finding those things, and just trying trying to enhance our lives a little bit. We talk about getting better. Well, just enhancing our lives and whatever else, just a little bit every day, and working towards that thriving. I think that's kind of the goal and the path we're on for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
So This did not disappoint. Like we talked about, we had no plan really. We had a target, and there was a very broad target, but I think we got some really. I enjoyed it myself. I hope that a lot of other people will enjoy it. I learned from you, and I really appreciate you spending some time with me today.
Thank you for the collaboration. Again, I know that I'm not going to teach anybody anything tactical. I'm brand new to this thing. I'm humbled by the fact that you wanted to have me on and that you're like entertaining my thoughts and views on this. But anybody that's listening, this is one person's view, and I hope that everybody out there, grabs their own healthy coping mechanism and just runs with it. And whether that's putting positive content out there for people, whether it's telling people, hey, I appreciate you, or you're doing a good job, whether that's going and working out. I just i, I think that anything that we can be doing, that we're adding more to the plus side of things, contributes just a little bit more to all of us getting better collectively.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell everybody where they can find you, any kind of information, if you got some stuff coming up that you want to get out, whatever plugs you want to hit.
I'm kind of the way I had been, doing some public speaking before all of the traveling was shut down for COVID. Unfortunately, most of that got pushed off or canceled. I did speak at the Fools Conference, and I hope to do something similar like that again. Just kind of my basis of how I basically project managed my way up out of the corporate world, lost a bunch of weight, and then got into firefighting. So there are I know there's a lot of podcasts that exist on my, like basically my journey.
Yeah.
Professional Brotherhood has one of them. Jump Seat Radio has another. The original one of Jump Seat Radio was a pretty solid one of just like
Yeah.
how I got to be where I am now. Um, and just if you're looking for a little bit of inspiration, if you need just that extra, like, because of, the only plot behind my Instagram page when it started was I wanted somebody to look at it and think, because of you, I didn't quit, because I had that for myself when I was at a point where I wanted to quit. And that was Mark Von Oppen's Fully Involved page.
Yeah.
He puts out a lot of really good content. And I had that came to me at a pivotal point in my trying to get, from the volunteer agency to a career agency, where it hit me at just the right time, that it was literally the thing that stood between me and throwing in the towel. So that's been the point behind my Instagram page. If you want to give a follow, it's at Miss_Fit_Hose Dragger on Instagram. I can be reached there. That's pretty much my contact. And there's like a secondary page. It's the at 451F link. And that's just a whole bunch of people who got on board this whole concept of not being the weakest link. And that doesn't mean, I feel like because I took on this fitness thing, people think weak as in physical strength. That's not what it is at all. It's all about mindset. So I find that I have to almost differentiate between that, because imagine me no taller
Perception.
than I am 5 foot tall, and I used to be 100 pounds heavier. I am not the fitness guru by any far cry. I just did a whole bunch of stuff that didn't work, remember, mistakes, and then found the things that did. And it turns out that that's all mindset. So 451F link is something, and you can find that if you're interested in purchasing that in a decal. There is a link in the Chief Miller store. And it just drop ships from me. So I get a message saying, hey, this person wants a link. So I usually try to look them up on Instagram, try to get your picture of where you put your link. And if you go to that 451F page, there is a whole mess. I think there's almost like 500 out there now. They're in all 50 states. I want to say like 7 countries, which is I never, when
Amazing.
this started, I never ever thought that's how this would end up. I was giving them away for the longest time. I was like, hey, this is something I can look at. It reminds me I need to, do better and be better. And it turned out that was like that tangible little thing was something that a lot of people could use. So if you're interested in something like that, go on to the Chief Miller store, shoot me a DM. Either way, we'll make sure that you get one. And just that's I appreciate. There's been several people who've been so gracious about having me on podcasts and talking to me and hearing my story. And again, I feel like, dude, I am nobody from nowhere. I still am like just humbled when you like ask, you're like, you want to come on a podcast?
Well,
Like for
that's good because that's who's interviewing you. So
like, do you know that I'm just like basically a working mom and I just fight fires for a living, 1 out of every 3 days. And then I come home and I have to do the mom, like the online, and I do my meal prep and I go to the gym. That's like, I'm like, why?
yeah,
But I appreciate it. You're always an articulate individual. I've said that from day one. I appreciate your content and I appreciate you having me on.
thank you. I will say again, I know she mentioned it, but the links that she's talking about is a really, really cool deal. You definitely need to get on if you've not seen or heard of them, and check that out. I order some for my whole crew just as hopefully maybe like a spark to get them fired up and kind of get them recommitted. It has a little bio basically of her story, and just a really cool deal. And I'm glad that you also mentioned the other podcast. If you want to hear more about Brooke's story, like she said, there are very good ones that she's been on that really goes into all that, and that's Professional Brotherhood and Jump Seat Radio, or Jump Seat Views Radio.
There was another
And
one
so,
that during the Badge podcast,
okay, yeah, that's a
Gary
good
did
one
a
too.
really nice job, and I
Yeah,
appreciate his input on that. So, and I know I'm forgetting a few more. I didn't write this down. I didn't
no,
I
it's
come on expecting to talk about myself. I just came on expecting to collaborate. So,
no, it's fine. I just that's something that I probably should have done at first too, because I like steering people in those directions. I don't want to kind of rehash things that have already been talked about. We'll talk about something different, but
right.
I'm more than happy to steer people in those directions because we're all here for the same thing, man. I'm not competing against these other people. It's all for the same goal. So
Yep.
once again, I appreciate you. I look forward to everything that is to come from you, and
Thank you.
to get you back on sometime in the future.
I
See ya.
appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Jeremy.